Hi, everyone, and welcome back to Agile Driven Impact. I am so excited for our episode today. We have our very first guest. I know, I'm so excited. And so today we are going to be talking about what it is like to be a part-time Scrum Master. And well, I'm going to let her introduce herself, but that is why I have invited Beth Archer, who is a grant professional certified and registered Scrum Master, to be with us today. Beth, do you want to tell our audience a little bit about yourself?
Sure. Thanks so much for having me. Excited to be the first guest. I don't know that I knew that, but that's very exciting. So I am Beth Archer. I am a grant professional on the DH Leonard Consulting and Grant Services team, and I'm also the team's Scrum Master. So I balance both parts of that. And then I also am the executive director of a nonprofit that's based out of Pennsylvania. So a lot of different teams that I'm working on, a lot of different work that I'm seeing, and I'm excited to talk about this today.
Yeah, well, and let's give a quick shout out to the nonprofit that you're ED for.
Yeah, it's called PA Eats, and like I said, it's a Pennsylvania nonprofit, and it is focused on fighting food insecurity and celebrating our state. Pennsylvania has some great food and beverage culture here, so it's all focused on that.
Yeah, I love that you have all sorts of different ways that Agile is playing out for you, but you're right, you're wearing a very particular hat for our writing team, which is
Mhm.
why that's part of why we're like, we know your story and we want to give you a chance to share it because you're not alone. We know that we have listeners that are in both really large organizations, medium organizations, and then smaller organizations. But actually, this whole part-time Scrum Master idea, it isn't only in small organizations where this becomes a question. Could you wear multiple hats in an agile team, in particular in a Scrum team? Right? Scrum says that you have three roles in a team. And so if we have the product owner and the Scrum Master and the team member, well, you described you're a team member for DH Leonard Consulting, but you also wear the Scrum Master hat. So, what I'd love to have you share is when you think about switching hats, or if you want to say like switching the lane that you're in between those two roles, what might be one of the biggest challenges that you've faced over the years?
Yeah, good question. I think that where the challenge is for me is balancing that responsibility of supporting the team as the Scrum Master and also being focused on like what the team produces as part of the team. I don't ever find that they are at odds with each other, but there are times when I have to decide what is it more important for me to have my Scrum Master hat on right now, or is it more important for me to have my teammate, team writer hat on? And I mean, there's been a lot of different ways that I've tried to do that and do that well. But yeah, that balance is definitely the challenge of wearing both hats.
Hmm. And, you know, if we're thinking about then the Scrum Master part, so you said like thinking about the team, serving the team, being that servant leader. Part of it is often talked about as protecting the team, protecting
Mhm.
them from interruptions or protecting them from distractions, helping to make sure that teams are following the Scrum process, right? Oh, as a quick reminder, right? Like here's what the process
Mhm.
says, but you're also wearing that team member hat. And so do you find like are you coaching yourself sometimes
Mhm.
or like how do you put your own scrum master advice to work or do you find yourself saying to team members scrum master hat for a second versus your team member like how do you balance that protection part for yourself and your colleagues?
Mhm. Yeah, it is sometimes coaching myself, which is an interesting way to do it. But I do try to, even if I don't always verbally say it to the team, at least for myself, I try to be very thoughtful about like I'm putting my Scrum Master hat on or I'm putting my team member hat on right now. Obviously, it's a little bit different in ad hoc situations, but we have a lot of standing meetings. We have a lot of Scrum events. And so I try to do that as much as I can before a meeting and just kind of ground myself in what my role is for that particular situation. But I also think that's something that has really helped. And I didn't know we so purposefully did this process until I heard about it. And then I thought, we purposely do that process. I recently learned in a facilitator training how important it can be to provide an opportunity during meetings to write. Our default is often sharing out loud and like group share situations. And there's a lot of reasons why they went into why it is important to provide this writing opportunity for meetings. But in this case, I realized that our team really does that in most of our meetings and our Scrum events. So, for example, we have our sprint goal outlined in our project management tool. So I can write updates or think about at least the updates before I go into daily Scrum. Or the same for our whiteboard tool that we use for retrospectives. So I can put my thoughts down and be prepared for that part. And then when we go actually into the meeting, it allows me to put on the Scrum Master hat and I don't have to worry about that part. I already have my thoughts there. So that has really helped as well. And then I am kind of coaching myself, but I'm coaching like pre-meeting Beth because I already put all my thoughts there.
Right? I just thought of Rob Hatch and like your
Yes.
pre-meeting Beth made sure that your meeting Beth was set up for success. I
Right,
know.
right.
Love
Yeah.
that. And I think you're right. Like we've set some of that up so that we can give
Mm.
space for people that are wearing different hats, but also, I mean, we're a team full of writers, and a lot of us think by writing, not
Right,
just
right.
think by saying. And whether that
Mm.
you're a team of writers or a team of whatever, I think giving multiple modalities for people to interact lets more
Yeah.
voices be heard. Now, you mentioned also our whiteboard tool. I feel like we should shout it out. Actually, there's two that we've used, and both are awesome. Try to be tool agnostic, but Mural, our team uses
Hmm.
because they give nonprofits free licenses, and we love that about them. And then
Right.
I know a lot of other teams use Miro, which we've played with too. So Mural, right, Mural.com, Miro, Miro.com. That one doesn't give free licenses to nonprofits, last I knew, but they give anyone in any industry three free boards. So when you were
Mm.
talking about those virtual whiteboards, I just
Hmm.
thought I want to make sure our listeners know what are we talking about that could be in their toolbox. Because you're right,
Right.
we spend a lot of time in them as ways to reflect and process. So in our team, we've been together for a while, not forever, forever, but stable team for a while. And you've been in Scrum Master role now for going on 3 years, getting close to it, maybe.
Yeah.
I think
Yes, I think
so.
so.
Um, but one of the things that I'm curious to hear your thoughts about, you are a peer contributor, but you are the Scrum Master. How have you approached gaining the team's trust, building the trust? Did you think about it at all in a different way for how you build trust as a Scrum Master versus trust as a team member that has their back on like the work itself?
Mm. Yeah, I think that this is a hard one to answer on my own. I think that the team as a whole, has been very purposeful about developing trust, and it's something that we have tried to very proactively do. We've worked regular check-ins into more formal situations. We have a check-in as part of our daily scrum. And then we have different ways that we do it a little bit more informally. And I think that that has really helped us build a relationship, which I feel is the foundation of trust. I hope that the team does feel like they can trust me as a Scrum Master. But the same way that our team has been very purposeful in building that. So as a team member, I've been a part of that. I have also tried to be very purposeful in my role as a Scrum Master as building that. And I feel like where I try to make that happen is by advocating for the team when I can, and to be the one that does facilitate conversations, especially when they're related to any conflicts or challenges that we're having. I think, at least I hope, from the team's perspective, that having someone who is confident in that role and is comfortable stepping in to be that facilitator helps build that trust as well.
Hmm. That's a great point. And, I think the thing that we didn't flag about our team before we started the conversation, our listeners probably don't know that our team always has been and probably will always continue to be fully remote. So
Hmm.
you're answering these questions with a fully remote team. You're building
Yeah.
trust from a fully remote perspective. Our first post-COVID in-person retreat wasn't until fall of 2024.
Hmm.
And then again in 2025. So yes, now we've had like two in-person like trust building activities, but as a Scrum Master, you didn't have the advantage of some of that in-person trust building that might happen day to day, just kind of happening around the office, right? You've had to do
Hmm.
it with a whole lot of digital walls.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm,
Yeah. But I think our team does virtual very well. So I think that helps that we just kind of have that's our team culture. And so we do a lot of the relationship building just naturally in how we work.
mm. I mean, now I think probably people's interest is peaked.
Mhm.
What are some of the things that you think are unique that we do about digital team building, trust building, that's kind of built into who we are in our culture?
I think I mean, part of this is just part of the Scrum framework, having at least once a day an opportunity where we see each other with having the daily Scrum. We've also had various team working agreements as our team has changed throughout the years, but it has always involved things like cameras on when you're able to, and I think that makes a really big difference. And then we work other things in. Like I have been a part of a few different teams, fully in person, hybrid. This is my first fully remote team, but we've never done anything, even in person teams, like our water cooler time, which is just on Thursdays, right now on Thursdays, for 15 minutes after our daily scrum. We're just all there to hang out and talk with each other. And being very purposeful about that, we have it scheduled. It's something that we do every week. I think things like that is what helps build our relationships in the team.
That's where I get half my book recommendations, right?
I know.
New recipes, new
Hmm.
ideas. I'm always sad if I have to miss it.
Yeah.
It, I agree that that's something that's really different, and I can't take any credit for that.
Hmm.
That was a different team member's idea. What if we tried, and it was a Kaizen years ago,
Oh, that's great.
and
What a
look
great
at what
Kaizen.
like I should tell that team member, thank you.
Yeah.
And it's stuck, and you're right. Now it's on Thursdays. It's moved around on the calendar. That's just based on kind of what's happening for the team. But yeah, I'm glad you called that one out as something that's focused on that culture piece. That I think you're right. It does help to build the trust even when you're remote.
Hmm.
Now that probably sounds like more fun to our listeners than some of the more traditional, less glamorous, less fun Scrum Master duties.
Hmm.
Things like, hey, where are we going to put the data point for yesterday's weather or our measurement for team happiness or our team also measures team stress or have I heard an impediment? How am I going to document that and make sure it gets resolved? How do you find space in your schedule? How do you not let those less fun, I'm not going to say they're not fun, but the less fun things fall to like the wayside? How do you still make sure they get done?
Yeah. They're sometimes fun. I love spreadsheets, so I'll let that's my fun time is playing in the spreadsheets. But I I think that it just is a challenging part of wearing the two hats.
Mm,
I think over the years, something I've had to be realistic about is that it's probably not ever going to look like a 50-50 split all the time. Whether you're looking at the day or even just across the whole sprint, there are just times when I need to spend more time wearing that Scrum Master hat, and then other times where maybe we have a lot of deadline driven work that I'm leading that I need to spend a little bit more with that. But I do try to again, be very purposeful about that. I have a few recurring tasks on my calendar that helps ensure that I'm setting some time aside for the Scrum Master tasks that maybe aren't the most glamorous. Uh, but it's still something that I feel like I'm always working on. And I have found how I think about those tasks really impacts that as well, and how I prioritize it and when I prioritize it. It's really easy to fall into the deadline driven work is the priority, but that isn't true. And the Scrum Master work is also very important. And I've seen how it can really make our team better and faster when I've had the time and I've purposely made time to work on the Scrum Master piece. Uh, so that has helped me remember to prioritize it as well. Remember that this isn't a deadline, but it is still so important for the team. And something that I actually just thought about this morning, I put blocks on my calendar for certain tasks. I don't put it for everything, but we very frequently as a team check in with each other and just share what we're working on, especially if we're picking up something new. And I was thinking how it might be beneficial to say to the team when I'm working on Scrum Master things, putting my Scrum Master hat on for a little while. If you're looking for me, that's where I am. So that's not something I've done before, but I think it will help me prioritize and stay accountable with some of those less glamorous tasks as well.
Well, and I think that's amazing to consider for what you might verbalize, because then it also helps the rest of the team understand the value of what you're providing and some of the things that it feels sort of like there's a magic wand and it magically is there that the data's in the spreadsheet. That is just awesome, right? It's Beth magic, sure, but or the retro board is ready, whether you've built
Mhm.
it or another team member sometimes helps with it, right? But like those are things that are of value to the team and they don't happen by accident. They don't happen in a quick snap of the fingers. So yeah, I love that idea.
Yeah,
Happening
we'll
live here,
see.
folks,
Right.
right? You heard it on the podcast first.
Mhm.
Check back. I'm curious to see what that sounds like or what that looks like when you are chatting in the team channels.
Yeah, me too. I haven't done it
Stay
yet, so
tuned.
yeah.
I'm probably going to do like some sort of celebratory GIF when I see it for the first time. I'll be
Yeah.
like,
We
it'll be
did it.
awesome. Well, so as you bounce between the two hats, team member doing awesome grant writing work that creates impact in communities in a certain way, Scrum Master creating impact within the team, which I would argue then like ripples out to the community as a whole. But what do you think is the biggest benefit to you because you're both?
Mhm.
Not that we're saying that your peers who are air quoting only team members, but do you think that there's something that like you've got some sort of insider track or insider benefit because you have bounced between the two, because you have to balance both?
I do. I know that not every team could be set up this way, and that there are plenty that are and plenty that aren't. But I do really feel that having a part-time Scrum Master who's also a part of the writing team is really the ideal setup for our team, because I think it takes the person who's in the Scrum Master role, and now you have someone who is, very intimately connected to the work. It helps me relate better. It helps me build trust more easily and also remove impediments more easily because I kind of have that insider knowledge about the impediment and not just facilitating it within the team. There's a little bit of knowledge there as well. I actually haven't thought about how it benefits me as the writer. I feel like I often look at it as how is being part of the writing team benefit me as a Scrum Master. But to think of it on that other side, I think there are a lot of tools that I get from being the Scrum Master that then carry over into the writing. And a big thing would be facilitating client meetings as well.
Mm.
Because I do so much in the team, I feel like I am set up to have good meetings with clients too.
Yes. I'm nodding. I was right. I'm like, I don't know what your
Mhm.
answers are. This isn't scripted. And so I'm like,
Mhm.
nodding. Yes. And the thing that, as you mentioned in a facilitation training earlier, I am pretty sure I know which training you were thinking about. Was it
Mhm.
facilitator cards?
It was, yes.
It was. And so I know you've participated in multiple things with them over the years. And I think you're right because what you've learned there, I know I've seen play out with the team.
Hmm.
But I know also from some of the feedback we get from clients, some of the big projects, some of the like multi-partner projects, those are tricky facilitation things. And that's some of the positive feedback that we get for the
Hmm.
facilitation skills that you have brought to the situation. So, yeah, I say feather in the cap. I agree that
Yeah.
it makes the client work stronger too.
Yeah. This might sound silly to say now in hindsight, but I don't think I ever pursued facilitator training thinking it would help in the client meetings. I don't know why. I don't know if maybe I just didn't see my role as facilitator in there at first. But I pursued those trainings being the Scrum Master and now can step into that role in client meetings also.
Yeah. Well, I love it when a plan comes together,
Yeah.
right? And that's a not just a happy accident. I think it's a nice one. And as we're talking about facilitation and roadblocks and what that looks like, our work, I mean, our work is focused in grant writing. I get that that is not the case for lots of people that are our listeners. Not a problem, right? What you described is being a subject matter expert part of the time and being a scrum master part of the time.
Mhm.
And that's universal across any industry. It doesn't have to be just about grants. And I think there's something that's impacting our industry right now a lot. People are talking about AI nonstop
Mhm.
because we're writers, and so it brings up a lot of questions. But I think that the AI conversation is something that a lot of Scrum teams, industry agnostic, are also having to think about. And I
Mhm.
I know that you've played with it a little bit, so I thought maybe we could have that sidebar too if you're up for it and talk about what it's like, not so much from the team member side. We'll leave that to our ethics committees for our professional associations.
Right.
We'll let that happen
Yeah.
over there. But like from the Scrum Master side, yeah, what do you
Hmm.
think? You want to talk about it for a few minutes?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. So you pointed towards the Scrum events that we have things that are focused on continuous improvement, team member or whole team impediments or roadblocks. Um, when you're trying to think about how you help the team identify what might be at the root cause of something or why we're seeing a pattern of something, have you used AI at all? Have you played with it? What's been your experience for trying to use it in that situation?
Yeah, I think I use it pretty frequently in Scrum Master things. It sometimes just kind of gets the gears turning and then helps me get where I need to go. But we've done a couple things over the past few months as a team. We have used it to help get to the root cause of something, but we've also used it to explore questions we have about a root cause. If it's something that we've already identified as a team, and then we can ask more questions and dig a little bit deeper into why it's a root cause and even theorize how it might look different or how it could look different. We have put, and this was not my idea, so I cannot take credit for this, but we have put transcripts of some of our Scrum events into an AI tool and asked it questions about how to improve on certain things. Uh, if we could notice patterns, maybe again, we already did notice a pattern and we're looking to dig a little bit deeper into that. We've had a lot of discussions over the past few months about our backlog refinement and how we're doing that as a team. How we were doing it just wasn't working, but we didn't really know why. We couldn't get to the root cause of it. We had some theories that we explored with the help of an AI tool, and we found that we needed a really clear line between what each team member was doing on their own as part of backlog refinement and what team backlog refinement should look like. And I don't know that we would have gotten there or we wouldn't have gotten there as quickly if we weren't using the AI tool to help us.
Mm. And I think let's go ahead and name, because people are probably like, so what are you
Yeah,
using? Right.
right.
And I know like AI tools are changing so fast. There's so
Mhm.
many. And so how long will this particular one stay around? I hope for a long time. But why don't you go ahead and tell our listeners what it is that you've been using?
Yeah, for all of our Scrum things, I've been using Scrum Sage, which is an addition to ChatGPT, like its own kind of
Oh, it's like an
ChatGPT.
agent.
There we
Yeah,
go.
like
Okay,
it's an agent
yeah.
that so Scrum Inc., which was is run by JJ Sutherland, current CEO of Scrum Inc., but Dr. Sutherland, the co-creator of Scrum, was one that founded the business. And so it's actually his image, right? Isn't it his image
Yeah,
on that agent in
it
ChatGPT?
is.
So you feel
I
like
feel
you're
like I'm
asking,
asking him.
yeah,
Yeah.
so Dr. Sutherland, what do you think? Right? And so pretty cool then to get like to the source in terms of
Hmm.
answers. So I wanted you to call it out because it's not anything related to our typical AI use as a writing team. It's a
Hmm.
separate thing that we call out as acceptable use in our team because what we use on the other side of the house can't do this, right? This
Right.
agent only exists in ChatGPT, but we have the free version.
Hmm.
Like we don't have to have a paid version to get to Scrum Sage, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And I'm certain that you could do similar things to this in other AI tools. But the reason that we choose Scrum Sage is because where the tool does its learning is from Scrum. So it's a little bit more knowledgeable than maybe just another AI tool.
Yeah, agreed. It'll be interesting to see what else comes up. And I'm hoping that if, listeners have anything that they're using, they've got an agent they've created or something else they've discovered, we'd love to hear about it. This is the one that we just happen to know. And I guess it's in
Mhm.
part, yeah, Eric and I are biased, right? We're both registered Scrum trainers, so they taught us about it. We know about it. We taught you. That's where it goes. But you were saying how you've used the tools sometimes to even help you brainstorm or
Mhm.
help to find those patterns. Um, is there anything that in terms of like the way you're asking questions that you think is like, oh, this is why it's helpful, or this is like my go-to way to approach it? Is there anything that you found to be meaningful? Prompt engineering is so overused, but I don't know what other phrase to use. But how are you helping ask questions that get you creative solutions?
Yeah, I sometimes when I'm feeling, this is probably opposite of what is recommended, but sometimes when I'm feeling really stuck, I give a very vague prompt. And then seeing what it answers, then I'll go back and specify some more things. So I can really help it. I'm stuck and I need you to tell me everything that you're thinking. It's almost like a brainstorming session with an AI bot. But I need you to give me everything that you're thinking about it so then I can start getting more clarity for myself to help the tool be clearer as well. The other thing that we use it for often, pretty often, is things like templates, or I think one that it gave us the other day was even, it called it a formula, but we've used it for things like we need an agenda for this event. And then again, it'll help us build that and then we can customize it for our team. But the formula I'm talking about was most recently, our team's been talking about sprint goals a lot lately and went through some of that vague sprint goal questions and narrowed it down a little bit. And it gave us a formula for developing sprint goals within our team. And we're still testing it out, but so far it's really helped us. And so that wasn't anything specific. It's not writing sprint goals for us, but it gave us this outline that has really helped our team formulate our sprint goals.
That's fantastic. And I
Mhm.
have been excited to see that because I see as chief product owner, I get to see the
Mhm.
sprint goals and I love, 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 really, really love when they have language in them that's connecting them to our product goals.
Mhm.
I can see exactly what you're thinking about for the big picture and how it's going to connect to the things we already agreed on. And it just, did I mention I love that?
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Okay. Everybody gets it. Yes.
Yeah.
So as chief product owner, I'm super excited. And, you know, when it got presented for where it came from, like, oh, that's cool. All right.
Hmm.
And You're all brilliant team members. Would we have gotten there? I think
Yeah,
so.
probably.
But did you get there a little bit faster because you got to use it as like a brainstorming assistant type
Hmm.
banter? Not mad about it. Super excited about it.
Hmm.
Um, so not that we can forecast how we're going to continue to use AI, how it's going to evolve. My goodness, if we could do that, we would take all the money that we get and we would just fund all the nonprofits that need grants, right? We would
Right,
just take that money
right.
and solve that problem too. But when you think about AI and the fact that you're a part-time Scrum Master, any tips or suggestions for others that are balancing multiple hats like you?
Yeah, I think there are a lot of things. I think that AI will always be an enhancement in this case. It's never going to replace the tasks or the role of the Scrum Master, but I think there are some things within, that are very specific to our team, but every team is going to have these less glamorous, as we had talked about, very repetitive type tasks that happen every week, happen every sprint, happen a couple times a sprint. And I am not always the first one to jump to having AI automate something. So sometimes I have to be a little encouraged to consider it, but I've always been happy with it once I do consider it. So just think of some tasks that you have, some ongoing things that maybe part of it or all of it could be automated, and then that adds more time for you to either dedicate to the team that you are, that developer on, or even to other parts of the Scrum Master role that are person-centered and could never be replaced by something like AI.
Oh, what a great tip. And a great way to wrap up. Beth, thank you for being our first guest. I know I didn't want
Yeah.
to tell you that when you said, of course I'll be a guest, because I'm like, that might feel like it's pressure filled.
Mhm.
But we know that this is the case where folks are being asked to wear multiple hats. And I'm so glad that you are willing to share your experiences and stories with our listeners. Thank you again for being with us.
Yeah, thanks so much for
And
having me.
I can't wait for everyone to join us next time. I want to say thank you again to our sponsor. Agile Driven Impact is brought to you by Agile and Nonprofits, a group that is bringing training and coaching to nonprofits, charities, and NGOs around the world to help them create impact faster, but in a sustainable way for the humans and Earth, but all the sustainable ways. So thanks again for being with us. Take care.
Thanks, everyone.